विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोकुल नंद राधा गोकुल नंद राधा गोकुल नंद श्री राधे जय राधा लंदनीश्वर राधालन्दनीश्वर राधालन्दनीश्वर श्री राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री राधे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधा माधव श्री राधे जय सीता राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीता राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल शिला प्रभुपाद की
Jai.
Hare Krishna. So we'll just do the Mangala Sharan prayers. So Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagna Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shivishakavitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपिशा गोपिका कंता राधा कंता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरोभ्यस्य च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येवश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नम ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा वन्दे गुरुनीशभक्तान् ईशम् ईश्वरात्रकान् तत्प्रकाशं च तच्चक्तिर्कृष्णचैतन्यसंज्ञकाम् वन्दे श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य नित्यानन्दोत्सहोदितो गोडोदया पुष्पवन्तो चित्रोषान् यद् अद्वैतं ब्रह्मोपनिषदि तदपि अश्यतनुभा या आत्मान्तर्यमी पुरुषा इति सोऽशां स विभावः सदैश्वर्यपूर्णो य इह भगवान् स स्वयम् आयम् न चैतन्यत् कृष्णा जगति परतत्त्वं परम् इह अनार्पिता चरिं चिरात् कुरुणाय अवतीर्णः कलो समर्पायितम् उन्नतोज्ज्वला रसं स्वाभक्तिश्रियम् हरिः पुरात सुन्दराद्युति कादम्बा सन्दीपिता सदा हृदयकन्दरे स्फुरतु वासचिनन्दना राधाकृष्ण प्रणया विकृतिहलादनि शक्ति अस्माद् एकात्मानवपि भुवि पुरदेहभेदं गतोऽतो चैतन्याख्यं प्रकातम् अधुना तद्वयं चैक्यम् आप्तं राधाभावद्युतिषुवालितं नौमि कृष्णस्वरूपम् श्रीराधया महिमा कीदृशो वानयैव स्वद्यो येन भूता मधुरिमा कीदृशो वा मदीयः सौख्यं च मदनुभावता कीदृशं वेति लोभत् तद्भवादया समाजनि सचीगर्भा सिन्धो हरि दुः पञ्चतत्त्वमकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमे प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विसे नमः कृष्णवर्णं त्विषाकृष्णं सङ्गोपाङ्गस्त्रपार्दसं यज्ञसङ्कीर्तनप्रायैर्यजन्ति हि सुमेधसा कृष्णवर्णं त्रिसा कृष्णं सङ्गोपाङ्गास्त्रपार्दसदं यज्ञैर्सङ्कीर्तनप्रायैर्यजन्ति हि सुमेधसा सुवर्णवर्णो हेमाङ्गो वरङ्गश्चन्दनाङ्गदी सन्न्यासकृच्छमार्सन्तो निष्ठशान्तिपरायणः Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langhayate girim yat kripatam aham vande paramananda madhavam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, please bless me that I may say something that is relevant and is pleasing. So we've been going through this chapter in quite a lot of depth. Devotional service in attachment, which is chapter 13. So last week we went through so we've read it once, and then last week we went through the first paragraph, which was describing so this is a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatan Goswami, and it was the previous chapters had talked about regulative principles and how to do devotional service. So, following the 9 angas of bhakti, so Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, um, Achyam, Vandanam, Dasyam, uh, and Atmanivedanam, and Sakyam. So, how to follow the devotional services according to the regulative principles. So, in a regulated way. So, a lot of the texts that are written by Sanatan Goswami talk about things like temple worship in a very principled, regulative manner. Um, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that actually devotional service, um, to deepen it, we have to have this thing called transcendental attachment. So obviously, transcendental means that it's above the 3 gunas, and we have to be attached. So where we are attached to this universe, we must or to this our life or our relations or our situation, we must come out of that slowly, and the way we come out of that is by gaining a higher taste, a transcendental taste and a transcendental attachment. So it's not that we stop doing something, it's actually we become attached to something which is deeper and which is more superior, and that actually gives us the most amount of joy. And therefore the lower tastes will naturally all just so when we're talking about Krishna, for example, we're not necessarily thinking about all the lower things, and that's because we are attached to something that is deeper, higher and the highest. So the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were obviously the examples of these living, and obviously those of us that have visited Vrindavan, when we meet Brajvasis, we can understand that the devotion is it's very specific and it's very focused, it's one pointed, and they don't see anything but Krishna in their lives. They don't think Krishna is separate from them. As far as they're concerned, he's their little boy, like that's running around, or they're so absorbed. And this is lifetime of absorption in Krishna, um, that gets them to that state where they're totally focused. And we have to follow in their footsteps because they're dealing with separation from Krishna. They're dealing with Krishna being there. The whole mood is absorbed around Krishna. Krishna is at the center of all their activity. Um, and their devotion and attachment, which is mainly in the 5 relationships, but not just that, but they're totally absorbed, they're totally seeing Krishna. And the gopis actually say to Uddhav that our main problem, actually, Uddhav, is not that we can't remember Krishna. The issue is that we can't seem to forget Krishna. So even if they want to forget him, but they can't forget him. Krishna is he's in all their thoughts, he's in all their in their talk, in their day-to-day routine. They actually can't forget him even though they want to try. And this is why this level of devotion, it said that Mother Yashoda, she stopped cooking when Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura to kill Kans. um, when he didn't come back to Vrindavan, and obviously Vrajvasis would say Krishna never ever leaves Vrindavan. um, she stopped cooking. So even when Uddhav went there to visit them, she actually there was no food. They stopped cooking. Their whole actions became, if Krishna isn't there, then what's the kind of point? And they're deeply, deeply absorbed. Um, and Radharani actually says that, Krishna has put a bolt across, across my life, basically. And the bolt is, he's left me in this caged situation because he's promised that he's going to come back. So she lives with that hope constantly. And this absorption that the Rajvasis have, it's very deep, and it's very imbued with a real connection with Krishna. And this is, we have to follow in the footsteps of the Rajvasis. That kind of level of devotion can't be found anywhere apart from Vrindavan. So, developing devotional service and attachment by following the footsteps of Vrajavasis is called Raga Marga Bhakti. That is Raga Marga Bhakti, or devotional service in pursuance of attachment of the Lord. And then, according to Bhakti Samrita Sindhu, the ecstatic attachment for Lord experience in the course of devotional service that is natural for the devotee is called raga, or transcendental attachment. The devotional service discharged with deep attachment and with consequent deep absorption in the object of love is called ragatmika. So again, we spoke deeply about that word, the deep attachment. When we are deeply attached to something, so Krishna doesn't want us to shallowly like him. He's, how they say, he's like a jealous lover. He he will go. He expects deep attachment. Like any relationship, we know when a relationship is going deeper than, there are certain symptoms that even in a normal relationship we would experience. So Krishna is looking for that level of devotion and that level of attachment from us, with consequent deep absorption in the object of love. So, you know, again, in the material world, when we love something, we go deep into that matter. We go in, like, for example, if a girl likes a boy, it's not just that she likes the look of him, but she'll go deeper into it, and then deeper, deeper, until all her thoughts are absorbed in that person. Or if we like a flower, how deep can we go into the liking of that flower? um and in the same way, we have to go deep. And therefore, like, Gaurangi Mataji sang that lovely song about offering a bhoga to Krishna, which we were just looking at a little while ago. And that deeply goes into, Krishna's lunchtime pastimes, and what he eats, and who he's with, and who serves him, and how they kind of enjoy that pastime. And that's deeply relishing. It's even the mood of the song. um Bhaja Bhakta Vatsala Shri Gora Hari, and then all the items and the paraphernalia that is offered to Lord Shri Krishna during his pastime. So we go deep. All these scriptures that have been left for us, especially with the Bhakti texts, and the deeper we go into them, they're full of just rasa, just deep absorption of, Krishna's day. So as we move into, like, more kind of Raganuga Bhakti, and the saints, especially in Vrindavan, they call them the Rasikas. So they're full of taste, and if you hear their songs, they're very deep. Their absorption is very deep, because that's kind of like the level they are at. And all these bhakti texts have been left, and all these acharyas, everyone who's spoken about Krishna speaks about them so deeply, to the point of, like, in Raganuga Bhakti and in Vrindavan, everything centers around Krishna. So, where is Krishna doing Leela in the morning? He's at Vrindakun. Then where does he go to at lunchtime? He's at Radhakund. And then where does he, and everything revolves around that. Which temple does he leave? And all of, when you start following Krishna's pattern of doing things, and therefore you forget your own pattern. It's not like, okay, so obviously in ISKCON we have the morning program, but especially if anyone's been to Vrindavan, after a little while everything starts centering around Krishna. And then it's that deep love that we develop for the Lord. So examples of devotional service can be seen in activities of residents of Rajapumi. One who becomes attracted to Krishna by hearing of such attachment is certainly very fortunate. So the point of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or any Krishna Leela is to become attached to the Lord. So Rukmani Devi, who is the principal consort of Lord Shri Krishna in the Dwarka pastimes, she only heard about Krishna. She never saw Krishna. She heard all his all these great things that he was doing and all these great feats, and he'd beaten so many devotees and how beautiful he was, and all his, she heard all these leela about him, and just by hearing, and this is the beauty of Krishna and Krishna Katha, and when we engage ourselves in such literature, naturally we become like Rukmani Devi, we become devoted, and we love Krishna because we hear all these wonderful things about him, and he can do this and he can do that, and even though she was far away from him initially, like maybe like in terms of location, um she, just by hearing that, her attachment just grew so deep, and her attraction for him grew so deep, that then therefore she wrote to him and accepted him as her husband. And that's who she wanted to, that's who she wanted to be with, and that's just from hearing. And that is the level of attachment that we need to develop, and we need to think about how deep is our devotion. um Somebody like me, will just offer and just quickly do arti but I could actually go a little bit deeper, like, why leave it shallow? Like, this is the person we want to love. Radharani doesn't, she's not cooked the same meal for him more than, ever. And she's been cooking for Krishna for eternity. So she goes deep in his absorption, deep in love. And therefore, through that, she's able to render great service onto Krishna. So, when one becomes deeply affected by devotional residents of Rajbhumi and tries to follow in their footsteps, he does not care for the restrictions or regulations of the revealed scriptures. So, here we spoke about this last week again. Um, you know, does this mean that, oh, we just give up all these rules and regulations that the scriptures tell us? Well, if we're at that level, yeah, because when you're at that level, that isn't going to be your concern. I mean, when the gopis, they're running to see Krishna, and to join the rasa dance, they're putting their clothes on the wrong way, they're leaving their children, they're leaving their husbands behind, they're not, they're not really thinking about regulations or restrictions, or the because their mood is gone beyond that. It's so, unless our mood is gone beyond that, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood certainly does go beyond that, because as we find out as we go into the Antya Leelas of Lord Chaitanya, especially, he is completely absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And in that situation, there is no regulation, or it's past that. It goes past that. So if we are on that stage, of course, we don't have to follow all these things, but we have to still ascertain, which level we are at. And this characteristics of one, this is the characteristic of one discharging raga bhakti. So this is about raga bhakti. So the next verse which we're going to look at, Devotional service with attachment is natural, and one who has been attracted by it does not care for any arguments against his conviction, even though such arguments may be presented according to scriptural injunction. The natural inclination to devotional service with attachment is also based on scriptural injunction, and thus one who has attachment for such devotional service is not required to give it up simply on the strength of scriptural argument. In this connection, we should note that the class of so called devotees, known as Prakritya Sahajas, follow their own concocted ideas and, representing themselves as Krishna and Radha, indulge in debauchery. Such devotional service with attachment is false, and those so engaged are actually gliding down a hellish path. This is not the standard of Ragatmika Bhakti or devotional service with attachment. The Prakritya Sahajya community is actually cheated and very unfortunate. Devotional service with attachment can be executed in. So this is what. So if that isn't what devotional service is, then what is it? So devotional service with attachment can be executed in two ways: externally and internally. Externally, the devotee strictly follows the regulative principles, beginning with chanting and hearing, while internally he thinks of the attachment which attracts him to serve the Supreme Lord. Indeed, he always thinks of his special devotional service and attachment. Such a real devotee's attachment does not violate the regulative principles of devotional service, and he adheres to them strictly. Yet, within his mind, he always thinks of his particular attachment. All the inhabitants of Rajabhumi are very dear to Krishna. A devotee selects one of them and follows in his footsteps in order to be successful in his own devotional service. A pure devotee discharging devotional service with attachment always follows in the footsteps of a personality of Vrajabhumi. It is advised in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.9294 that such a pure devotee should always remember the activities of a particular inhabitant of Raja, even though he is not able to live in Raja. In this way, he can always think of Raja. So here it's quite simple. Like now we're actually going into the more intricate nature of Raga Bhakti, and and it says devotional service with attachment is natural when we love somebody, and once we become absorbed in Krishna, once we can listen, we can hear about him, we can cherish his pastimes, we can also apply that situation to our life. We can understand purification that goes on. We can understand that it's an higher taste than maybe watching TV. It's quite natural. It's our natural constitutional position when our false ego is destroyed, our real ego, which is that we are seven of the seven of the seven of Krishna. When that identity becomes more and more and more and more alive in us, the more and more and more we realize that it's the other things. It was actually quite difficult to be attached to the worldly things. It's actually quite difficult to be attached to this world. Like we all know the miseries of it. Whereas actually to be attracted to Krishna and to be attached to him is actually quite natural. So, like they say, that in the beginning it tastes, it's like jaundice, but then it becomes sweet. So, initially, when we take up to Krishna consciousness, listening about Krishna, chanting, it can actually, because if we're not used to it, it can be like, okay, what is this? And it feels like a lot of struggle. But actually, the sweetness develops over time and it becomes sweeter and sweeter because as our layers, like we have the five senses, the body, the mind, the intellect, the false ego, which identifies with all the labels that are attached to the body. So I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a teacher, I'm a worker, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a all these labels that we attach. I'm a devotee, I'm this person's disciple. This still, whatever it is, these are all labels still, yeah. So once the labels start fading, and we come into our true nature, so our false ego becomes a bit, becomes a bit waned. We're we're operating from a place which is our true identity, and which is that we're the servant of Krishna. And then das and udas. So we always say that we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. And it's actually very easy to, once, especially with like devotional service, once we do it, it's it's hard not to do it after that, because that's actually quite natural for us. And one who has been attracted by it does not care for any arguments against his convictions. So once, like, somebody says to you now, like, can you leave chanting? Can you leave listening to Bhagavatam? Can you leave, like, even if we just talk about the group, the morning group, or a different aspect of it, or going to the temple and offering Krishna things, and, worshipping Krishna at home. If someone said to us, well, what are you doing? This is nonsense. Actually, we probably wouldn't listen to them anymore, because we understand that the proof is in the pudding. We understand that when we do it, what it does for us. So we wouldn't stop, because our life would become completely kind of bogus. Um, and therefore, it doesn't matter, even if someone's saying all sorts of things, we probably wouldn't be able to stop ourselves, because we are being attracted by Krishna as well, because Krishna is all attractive and he is attracting us, and therefore it's quite natural to be attracted to him. The Rajvasis, when Krishna plays his flute, everybody's attracted to him. In the same way, when we all come and listen, or when we perform any form of devotional service, it's because we're attracted to Krishna. We can't just do it for the sake of it. Nobody does anything for the sake of anything. I mean, we might say we go to work because we need money, but most of the time, there's a point where it's just like, okay, it is what it is, and you have to do it. But um Krishna's service is different. Like, we would never stop it. The natural inclination to devotional service with attachment is also based on scriptural injunctions. So yes, it is part of our scriptures and our injunctions, especially in terms of Sanatana Goswami. He wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas, and um, lots of different texts on how to do devotional service. The natural inclination to devotional service with attachment is based on, so it is scriptural, and thus one has attachment for such devotional service is not required to give up simply on the strength of scriptural argument. So it's because of the what it says in scriptures that we do it. But if there are scriptures that are against it, we're not required to give that up. And in this connection, we should note that the class of so-called devotees, known as, so this group of Prakritya Sahajas, they basically think that they themselves are representatives of Radha and Krishna. So they think that they get to such a stage, and then they think they're Radha and Krishna, or at least they're representing them, and in that, and they live in these communities, and their internal mood is that they are Radha or Krishna, um, and then they live in that way, and then they have the moods of, they sometimes display moods of this, but actually, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is that attachment with that kind of service is false, and actually, Maya's last glee is that she makes you think that you're either, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's Maya, like, literally holding you back. I mean, we wouldn't want to become one with the Lord, because we want the relationship is between two. So a spiritual suicide, they call it, like if we become one with Krishna, or if we merge into Krishna, or when we talk about language, especially in those deeper stages of meditation and spiritual realization, those opportunities are present. They make themselves present. But at that point, it's that we maintain the relationship So for a relationship there has to be two. So it's us and the Lord and us kind of thing. So we we wouldn't never say that we would merge in and see ourselves as Radha or as Krishna. Um, but most certainly, the deeper we go, we will realize that our qualities, especially the more chanting we do, our qualities are changing, and we're giving up all the lower nature and the lower characteristics that we have for when we're saying Krishna's name, we're literally he's taking, all our qualities, and he's transmuting and transforming them, and he's full of qualities. We've spoken about his 64 qualities, and we've spoken that about great length, and we get access to that powerhouse because we're part and parcel of him. In quality, we have the same characteristics as him, the same, um we are like him in quality but not in quantity. um so we are like the drop in the ocean or the ray of the sun. So yes, we are the same, but actually achintya beda bed, we're one but different. um so we should really protect ourselves against this prakriti sahaja situation. But Srila Prabhupada does say that it's attachment is false, and those engaged are actually gliding down a hellish path. So you can only imagine, like, if you think you're Radha or you think you're Krishna, I mean, you know, how are you going to do? And then, there's going to be human things that come, and you're going to be put in situations which isn't really palatable. This is not the standard of Radhatmika Bhakti or devotional service with attachment. The Prakriti Sahaja community is actually cheated and very unfortunate. So we're being kind of warned against this Prakriti Sahaja community. So these people are those um, that think they are representatives of Radha and Krishna, or Radha and Krishna themselves. Um, and then there's a distinction between the two ways in which devotional service with attachment can be executed. One is in external, so anything external is outside of us, and anything internal, which is the other way, is something from within. So externally, the devotee strictly follows. So in, like Srila Prabhupada, let's just think, he's our like sincerest devotee that we know. So we can see that he followed the regulative principles very, very strictly. And that includes the four regulative principles, but also like the different regulations of bhakti, beginning with chanting and hearing. So again, we can think about like maybe Parikshit Maharaj here, where he gives up his whole kingdom after he's been cursed by Shringi, um, that he's going to die within 7 days and nights, and he gives everything up. And what is he doing? He's following the regulative principles, beginning with hearing and chanting. So the first way in which we connect to the Lord is through hearing and chanting. So Srila Prabhupada says that 99.9% of everything is hearing. So even if we never picked up a Srimad Bhagavatam, just by chanting, the knowledge would just naturally come to us. Um, and yeah, most of it, everything is chanting and hearing. So he said, and then one of his devotees actually asked him, but what about the mind? It's always disturbing and it's always thinking about this. And then Srila Prabhupada said, what's the mind got to do with it? Just chant and hear, chant and hear, chant and hear, chant and hear. But it's all that grey matter in the middle, which we have to, kind of eventually move past, so that we're just connecting with the holy name, and that when we're speaking from a place of absolute presence, and we're deeply absorbed in the chanting and hearing. So again, there's there's like Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, that really exemplified this hearing and chanting. So Parikshit Maharaj, he was doing the regular principles without, eating, drinking, um, and by fasting and following what he needed to, within 7 days and 7 nights, he had heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, kind of from top to bottom, and he was then able to move on to his further journey. So externally, he was doing that. He went to the Naimisharanya forest, and he sat down and he was listening to the Gatha where all the Goswamis were. So obviously we got Sukadev Goswami, who's a son of Vyasadeva, and who is the principal person, and then Bhagavatam is a series of stories and of within of Lord Krishna's devotees and Krishna himself. So externally those things are going on, so we're following the regs, we're chanting, we're hearing, we're engaging in service, but actually all the things that are happening externally, even despite all those things happening internally, there is a mood that, so if all those other things, they're outside of us, and then the internal is that internally we become so attached to the Lord and we serve the Lord. He thinks of attachment which attracts him. So the fact that when we like something, so like Rukmani Devi, she became attached, and that attracted her to serve the Supreme Lord as his wife. So it's the attachment. When we become attached to something, so we hear Krishna's flute, we become attached to it, and that is what attracts us to serve him. And such a real devotee's attachment does not violate the regulative principle. So just because we're in that attachment, it doesn't mean that we don't still follow the regulative principles of devotional service. Nonetheless, he actually or she actually adheres to it strictly. So externally you're doing all those things, and internally the mood is different. So that's why we hear about these sages and these saints, they had direct connection of Krishna. It's because they followed the principles. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he was a sannyasi. He'd taken sannyas at the age of 24. So he's strictly following, but internally his mood is something different. And obviously here, he's taken on the mood of his topmost devotee, Srimati Radharani. So inside something else is going on, and externally something else is going on. So yet within his mind, he always thinks of his particular attachment. So internally, there's so many, which we'll read, so many occasions where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so absorbed in this mood, and in this attachment, that he used to think that the Jagannath, the seas, the Odisha, the Jagannath beach, Jagannath Puri beach, was, the Yamuna, because he's so absorbed, he's not able to recognize that, he's in a different place, because to him, he's so absorbed in the Leela that he was enacting at the time. All the inhabitants of Rajbhumi are very dear to Krishna. A devotee selects one of them and follows in his footsteps in order to be successful in his own devotional service. So here, clearly, what we're being asked to do as practicing devotees is actually to think about what mood and what relationship we have with the Lord, and then follow in the footsteps of that group of devotees. So if it's in Madhurya Bhav, it will be in a certain way. If it's in Vatsalya Bhav, it will be in a certain way. You may take to the devotees of Mother Yashoda or Nand Maharaj or Balram. So depending on what the mood is, so whether it's conjugal, whether it's Sakya, whether it's Vatsalya, Shantaras, um, how exactly are we following in those footsteps? And as you go deeper and deeper in your devotion, especially with service, the right kind of people just naturally come into your life to help you. So, for example, if you really like cooking and you're very good at it, and then you want to cook for the Lord will bring very great cooks your way because He understands that that's something you need to learn. So we follow in the footsteps of previous Vaishnavas. Not only do we pick up skills, we also go deeper into understanding that we're following in someone's mood. So, for example, if it was in Madhurya Bhav, there is a certain way of being with Krishna in that bhav. You wouldn't necessarily think of yourself as his mom then, or in that mood. You wouldn't, or as his Sakha friend, because the bhav is different, the mood is different. So we follow in the footsteps of one of the um, principal Vrajvasis in the Krishna Leela. And here it says, all the inhabitants of Vrajbhumi are very dear to Krishna. So those of us again who have been to Vrindavan, like one of the concessions that they have is that when Govardhan Parikram is they're doing it, they can actually go onto the Giriraj. It's one of the things, especially if you're born in Vrindavan, you have, even to today, they have certain rights that other people don't have. Um, and it's because they're very, very dear to Krishna. The fact that they're born there or they've been able to live there through lifetimes, it's actually very special. A devotee selects one of them and follows in his footsteps in order to be successful in his own devotional service. A pure devotee discharging devotional service with attachment always follows in the footsteps of a personality of Rajbhumi. It is advised in Bhaktirasamrita Sindhu that such a pure devotee should always remember the activities of a particular inhabitant of Raja, even though he is not able to live in Raja. In this way, he can always think of Raja. So, several lectures that I've heard, um, even though we're not in the Dham physically, or that's not the point. Srila Prabhupada said, wherever you go, you should be able to create a Vrindavan. Wherever he went, whichever temple he consecrated, he always was able to create Vrindavan in all of those places. So when these are spiritual hubs that Srila Prabhupada has left for us, and it's really important that we're able to connect to them. Um,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
yep.
So still is there any continuation, or can we stop here and then open for devotees to ask questions,
Yeah, I
Mataji?
think we
That we
should
can.
just open questions now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
If,
we just
if
leave.
there is if there is too much, then we stop there and then
Yeah.
take it. Say,
So we'll
okay.
leave it at that. So if there's any questions on, basically, we spoke about the first, yes. So this from here, devotional service with attachment is natural up to the different the inhabitants of Raja. So if there's any questions anyone has around that.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thanks for beautiful
Krishna.
lecture full of examples and so many things, and repetition of Prabhupada's saying that chant and listen and develop relationship with Krishna. But still, as you said, to develop relationship or love for Krishna, but at times it happens and then it disappears. Not sure if we are too much in contact with this external world, and or we face the challenging situations at work most of the time, and sometime at home as well. So how to maintain this love for Krishna, Mataji? Like, sometimes we forget about Krishna and we just keep thinking about the situation, how we could have dealt with, or deal,
Yeah.
yeah, with that situation, or sort out that, and these things keep on going and Krishna is gone. It
Yeah,
disappears,
he's
and
somewhere
then
in the background, isn't it? Like we've parked him for a little while.
so how to
Um,
maintain this, like, constant this relationship, like, how what should we
I
do
think you're
to keep him
probably
in center all the time?
I think even like some people say that even when Arjuna was on the battlefield, like Krishna told him, when he's, like shooting those arrows and everything, is he thinking about Krishna at that moment, or is he just acting in his position? And of course, Krishna was there. He's always in the center, and you're probably being harsher than you think with yourself. Um, and I think that Amogra was just sent this verse from Madhya Lila, and I think this is kind of perfect for you in answering the truth. So I'll read uh, the Bengali, and then I'll go and I'll translate it in English. Ado Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sango Aja Bhajan Kriya Tato Anartha Nivritti Siya Tato Nishta Ruchi Tata अर्थशक्तिस्तथो भावस्ततः प्रेम भययुदाञ्चति सद्धा कानम् अयं प्रेम्णा pradurбhave bhavet krama. So, in the beginning, there must be faith. So, if we just if you think I know you enough to know you have a lot of faith, then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees, and then of course, you want to associate. Therefore, you associate with Srila Prabhupada first, like through the books, etc. Thereafter, one is initiated by a spiritual master and executes the regulative principles under his order. So, especially once we're initiated, the execution of regulative principles becomes very important because we make that vow.
Yeah.
Thus, one is freed from unwanted habits and becomes firmly fixed in devotional service. Thereafter, one develops taste and attachment. This is the way of sadhana bhakti, the execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles. So, Krishna is there, and I know it feels like we have to balance between, okay, knowing that Krishna is there, but then still carrying on with our duty. Um, but there will come a time that the more and more we attach to Krishna, there will be there will come a time, 100%, that our ruchi, everything will just grow. Like if you just sat there and you went through the Bhagavatam, even every day with devotees, gradually that's all you would want to do. Like you lose taste for other things. So I think it's a gradual process. Like we can't jump in straight away, but I think in our prayer, certainly we should say, Krishna, I may forget you throughout the day, but you please keep giving me remembrance of you. Kunti Maharani prays that, Krishna, let the calamities come, because in the calamities, I'm able to think about you more than, when everything's going hunky-dory. And we can know it is Krishna's hand in everything. And you're probably being very harsh with yourself, but that love is there. That's why we're always attracted back and back, and Krishna's love is also there, that he's able to attract. So the principle isn't just us. The principle of Krishna being there and being able to attract is paramount as well. So when we take one step towards him, he's taking like 10, 20 steps towards us. um, in this way, sadhana bhakti, the execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles, gradually emotions intensify. So imagine I just said to you now, Hemlata Mataji, like, from now on, you're never going to come to this Sangha. You're never going to like Krishna. Like your emotions would be so deep at that point. Like you wouldn't be able to take it. Um, actually, sometimes if someone was to take that Krishna, the fact that, you have to go to work and someone's pulling you to go to, you have to do this, you have to, go and earn your living kind of thing. Actually, it only intensifies your love for Krishna, because you realize that, oh, that bit you're still just doing, but actually you still want to boomerang yourself back into Krishna's service, because that's natural, and the love is sitting there dormant, even though you think you're not thinking about Krishna. Actually, the fact that you recognize that, okay, at this moment I'm not thinking about Krishna, I'm just thinking about my own whatever's going on kind of thing. Actually, that love, it is there, and it's actually quite deep, because we recognize it. We recognize the difference when we're at work and our mind is completely consumed, and then and we know something's not right, and that's why you ask that question. This is the gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotee as interested in Krishna consciousness. So this process is gradual. It's a development of love. So like in real life, we love somebody and that love grows. It doesn't stop. Love, if it's unconditional, it's going to keep on growing. There's no end point to it. It's going to continuously grow. There's going to be newness to it. And in that same way, that's how our love for Krishna develops. Spiritual life is about ever, ever increasing love. And it's always there. Like, you'll, at this point in your life, you'll be doing certain things and you have a certain level of love for Krishna, and then maybe like in 5 years time your love will intensify even deeper. It doesn't mean that this time you love Krishna any less, but by that time there would still have been an increase. It's something that's anya bhilashita shunyam. It's unalloyed and unmotivated, and it's ever increasing, and the love, it will always grow. So even though you're in those situations where you think that, okay, like I'm at work, I'm not even thinking like, who is Krishna basically at this moment in time. Actually, we know deep down Krishna is there, he's with us. um and to keep to keep remembering him in those situations. Like, sometimes, when we're going through hardships at work or in relations or in whatever, like, if we just remember that Krishna is with us, then that journey sometimes becomes a lot less daunting. um and we are still able to remember Krishna, and we have to pray for that also. Krishna, don't let me forget you. And even if I do forget you, you don't forget me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't forget me, because we're, fallible humans, but you don't forget me. And Krishna won't forget us, because he doesn't forget us. And he gives us all remembrance and forgetfulness, and we sometimes do have to, obviously, if we're doing our action, you can't, be thinking about Krishna all the time, but there's ways that you can bring Krishna into, so if you're at work, you can put a picture of him up, you can put your password as his name, or just little things to give you reminders throughout the day. They're just basically just practical, but actually, like, really feel that love in your heart when you take that taste of, when you're drinking water, that is Krishna's taste. When you're seeing the sun, can you see Krishna in that sun? When you're, taking darshan of, material nature, can you see Krishna's hand behind that? When you're seeing your relations that are all around you, can you see Krishna's hand in all of that? And really understanding that Krishna is all around us, and he's everywhere, and there is nowhere he isn't. um and it's becoming conscious of that. Do we know that he's the, the symbol behind the Om, and he's the principle behind chanting, and he's the mountain, and he's the river Ganges, and can we really understand that that is Krishna as well, alongside his Sham Sundar bending form, Tribangi form? Is Can we see Krishna everywhere? in our relations, in our life, in and it's about then there's no place. Krishna doesn't hide. He's everywhere. He's in the digestion. He's actually everywhere, and we have to just become conscious of that. um and then just practical things that we can remember him. So every time we take, we take our prasadam, just remember, thank you Krishna, even if we're not going to, read the whole ream of prayers, because we're busy with something else. Just thank you Krishna for this lovely prasadam. And that moment, if you just, remember, okay, thanks Krishna, then we've remembered him in that day. Like, maybe have like 10 things in the day where you're going to remember him. um and then, pray to him that he doesn't forget. And it's about just deepening that attachment with him. But I think you're probably being harder on yourself um than you probably think about Krishna a lot more than you think.
No, no, I just because these days few things were happening, and I was realizing that uh, I'm forgetting Krishna most of the time. And but good, you told me that I should see Krishna everywhere, and the most important thing, as you said, is to remember his put a password, because we keep opening and logging off computer most of the day when we work. So yeah, Krishna password, and it will remind. So thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah, you have mentioned so many things how we can remember all day Krishna in our life, and in difficult situation as well, just leave it to him.
Yeah, it's just that surrender, like, and it's not easy, but because our mind wants to control. This is the whole problem. Like, that's the whole problem. We're in the material world is because we want to be the controller, and it's so easy to want to be the controller. But the minute we learn to surrender and just go along with his plans, actually life becomes a lot more easier, and everything flows properly.
Yeah,
um
thank you, Mataji. Yeah, very good, thank you.
yeah.
Hare
Understood.
Krishna. So just one more point. So it is again. So as Mataji was mentioning, initiation from the spiritual master. That is also, it drives the devotional service very fast. Though the devotees are already performing, following 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles, that is doing, but still, when we are initiated by spiritual master, that will become streamlined. We do not feel like that one. So like Radha Sevaka Mataji does very beautifully, early, waking early morning 2 o'clock. It's not possible for others. So it is the empowerment of the guru to the disciple.
Mm.
So this is how. So I just request all the devotees, take, you are already following all the regulative principle, chanting and everything. Take the initiation as soon as possible. Then you would see the difference. Though we are following the regular, everything is there, but you would see the difference. It is Guru's mercy.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Prabhu.
We don't have to wait for anything at all.
Yeah, it just happens actually. There is a big change after initiation. It's not always an easy change, but you just notice that it's at one point it's not you, it's you're just like a vessel and an instrument. And in the beginning, you're just dealing with your own anartas and, things that are coming up, all your blocks. And but after, when you become, when the car is moving a little bit faster, and actually you realize that you're not in control of any of it. You're just like an instrument that is being used by your guru, um, and to help others as well, in their Krishna consciousness, and to move them along, because ultimately we're all just walking each other home. And then we come to that strong realization, especially after initiation, that actually the material world is, it's not, it's not our home. And we're actually just supporting each other by talking about Krishna, by thinking about Krishna, by acting in a Krishna conscious manner, that we're trying to make it easier for everybody. So all the Vaishnavas that went before us, and all the Vaishnavas that will go after us, and all the Vaishnavas that are with us, we're actually just literally holding hands and walking back home, back to Krishna. Um, because I think that we realized that, oh, that's the path, and you just fall into the path, and then you just move on. Like, you don't think about it, you keep, like when you're like in a big crowd and you're just kind of following it or whatever. In that same way, you're just kind of moving everybody, like you're moving, everybody's moving you forward, you're moving everybody else forward, others are moving you forward. And there's this kind of, we're all we're all on that train.
Yeah, if
We're
you
on
are
that.
not doing, everyone will push you.
Yes, everyone will if you're not doing it, people are gonna push you. Yeah, it's like everyone's just like it's like, no, okay, this is and it's not something that even feels like it's not like by force. It's like, oh yeah, of course, this is, and then you kind of, in that tide, you get dragged along. Um, and Srila Prabhupada also does say, I think there's in Bhagavatam, I don't know, I think it's Bhagavatam, that eventually we do also have to learn how to fly our own flag, our own kind of ship. Sorry, I think it is. So obviously, they say that, the spiritual master is, we're on that boat and he's crossing us through the material pangs. But actually, we have to be able to fly our own plane as well. So the fact that you get initiated, it means that you have access to a lot of information. Um, and then you also have to be able to fly your own plane. You have to be able to think, this is right. We know what's right, what's wrong, what Krishna wants, what Krishna doesn't want. And then, we might make mistakes sometimes. The whole series of things might happen. But nevertheless, we're on that same track. So when you're initiated, not just when you're initiated, but anyone that's connected to Vaishnavism, they're always going to be saying the same thing. I'm never going to say anything different to what Amol Prabhu's saying. Amol Prabhu's never going to say anything different to what Gaurangi Mataji is saying, or whoever it is. Yeah, everyone's saying the same thing. So we can listen to the same thing day in, day out. It's because we know that is it. There isn't anything other than Krishna consciousness, and we become empowered that little bit more through initiation, because we just get pulled, like Amol Prabhu says, you just get pushed, you just that's it, you're just on that train, just stay on it, and just make your life successful, because nobody wants to come back to this material world again. I mean, it we're lucky that we have found Krishna consciousness. Imagine being lost in the material world. Like, can you think of anything worse than all those colleagues that you see every day, or any of your relatives that you notice that even might know about Krishna but never take to it? Like, their life is in full darkness. That there is no, I mean, there's no hope at that stage. And to be in that position, that's why we do so much preaching. To be in that stage is very, very, very unfortunate. And the fact is, even if someone's telling you about Krishna, sometimes you still can't see it. um and that's a very, very distressing situation to be in. We have to pray. We have to really thank our lucky stars. We have to thank all our ancestors, all the sukriti we've done in previous lives, and that we found Krishna consciousness again, which is our natural position. And then this life, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is just give this one life to Krishna, and then you will see and reap the benefits of that. And you know there's nothing worse than being separate from Krishna. We just don't realize it. We have spiritual amnesia. We think, okay, everything's okay here. Actually, there's nothing worse than, like, sometimes I think our prayer should be that, Krishna, it doesn't matter if you keep me in hell, heaven, whatever, but just don't leave us. Because imagine being oblivious to Krishna. There's so many people we see that just not. But even then, like, most people will say, yes, there is some sort of God. Even a child would say, even if they don't know nothing, yes, there is something. I can't exactly describe it, but yes, I do believe in something higher. So even then, a basic ignorant soul has that realization. So Krishna is so merciful that he's still giving that realization. But imagine being in absolute ignorance, and worse still, imagine like knowing that Krishna, like Duryodhan, he actually sees Krishna when Krishna shows his form, when Krishna goes to go to Hastinapur to be the Shanti Dut. Krishna shows him his form, his transcendental form. But Duryodhan is so blind, and his father, though his word Dhritarashtra means spiritually blind, not just physically. He sees Krishna in that assembly with everybody else is also seeing Krishna, but actually he chooses to still overlook that. And I mean, imagine the blindness, that is a very deep, distressing situation. Or even like Ashwadhama, he's there, like he's seeing Krishna, he's still trying to kill his nephew. I mean, it's beggars belief, but that is the kind of situation we never want to see ourselves into. And we have to keep being really grateful that we have Krishna consciousness in our life and keep on that track. Otherwise we will become lost. And our mind will want to do all sorts of things. And in Krishna consciousness, Krishna is very kind. He still gives us he'll give us our little quota. We'll still be able to do a little bit of this. And if we're even doing a little bit of that, he probably, he's not, we as soon as we take shelter of him, we are his. And that's what we must realize. We are his and he is ours. And that part you have to hold on to. Krishna, you are ours and we are yours. And in that way, we have to be like greedy, and we have to have like lalasya, like we have to have intense greed that we are his and he is ours, because it's through that deep, deep.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah.
So just adding one point. So actually, this love comes only through the service.
Yeah.
The service, and for example, in day-to-day life, when we are trying to cook some food for Krishna, but actually, what we do, we wanted to prepare ourselves for. I like this one. I like paratha. I like rice, and I like dal. Some kind of things. We just keep our tastes first, and then cook it and offer it, and then of course we eat it. That is good, but actually what Krishna likes today, what Krishna likes tomorrow, what Krishna likes day after tomorrow, if we plan that way, and also changing the dress and so many different kinds of things, then that is how we develop the love to Krishna. And of course that comes whenever we are initiated, then the guru also will tell, okay, you get Radha Krishna deities and start worshipping Radha Krishna deities, change dress every day, morning and evening, and make bath to the deities in such a way, offer flowers, fruits, and everything. And then every day you see the form and you sit in front of the deities, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, along with one side you are on the online and you are sitting in front of the deities in the home and you are chanting. And once you are not focused, you are not deviated at any point. So you will be every day when you are doing this is a ado shraddha. So tato what is that one? Tata sadhu sangha ata bachani kriya. Tato anadhanivrittisyat tato nishta ruchihi tata ruchihi. That taste will come automatically. Asaktihi. I wanted to hear what is going to come next. Tato bhavaha. And just absorbing. It doesn't matter whatever it is happening. Tato bhavaha, always remembering Krishna. Tata premna abhyudanchati. So that is the love to Krishna. So without love, we do not. This is sadhakanam ayam premnaha. Whoever is practicing this, sadhakanam ayam premnaha, the love, it will sprout. Pradurbhave bhavet kramaha. This is the kramaha sequence, one after another. Pradurbhave bhavet kramaha. One after another, it happens. This is practice. We just, everyone, you have got very good talent in singing different beautiful songs to Krishna. That is what attachment. And among the devotees, when you are singing, we are all immersing ourselves with those kirtan and understanding deeply, but you are singing very beautifully. So you have got that talent. You can engage that one and sing, bringing so many devotees to home and performing the bhajan at home and then singing different kirtans throughout the day, bhajans, kirtans. That way, love and attachment, everything comes.
Hmm. And I think you're 100% right to say it comes through so when we are doing devotional service, Krishna is engaged, like you said about the bhoga that we're offering. Like, first we do what we like, then we do what Krishna likes, but then automatically the reciprocation is also happening, and you'll start thinking what that day Krishna will give you the intelligence, Radharani will give you the intelligence as to what he might want to eat that day. And it might be something that you've never cooked before, but that spontaneity of in that service comes, the depth, again, the service depth increases. And yeah, it's the 100% what you said, like it's through service that our love grows, because service is love in action. So we're doing an action for the Lord, and therefore we get reciprocation. And when we get reciprocation and we get the Shakti, and then we get the know-how, then naturally the lower tastes will all go, because we are building that deeper connection with Krishna.
Yeah. So does it mean that we should have DT, Mataji?
I think what Srila Prabhupada said about deities is that obviously worship the deities that are in the main temple.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you live far from the temple or what have you, then Gaur-Nitai is probably the easiest deities to have, because they don't require so much, they don't take offense, and it's not so difficult to have them. But if you live far from the temple, of course, like our home should be a temple. I mean, we're all like practicing for a certain amount of time, and we're all we're born in Sanatan families as well. So naturally, like the DT is a part of our home. So whether it's via a photo or we have DTs, when you have DTs, I think exactly what Amog Prabhu said, everything centers around the DTs, even within the house. So it's not that you should or you shouldn't. I mean, obviously, if you live near the temple, he said do it congregationally, because it's quite difficult to maintain deities. But then obviously most congregational devotees are living outside and much further from the temple. So in your home is a temple. So this is the uh, Vekta Yurag Vakta Yuragra principle. I can't say the word now.
Yukta Vairagyam.
Yukta Vairagya, yeah. Yukta Vairagya principle, whereby everything you have, so say you live with your husband is a representation of Krishna for you. You have your son, you have your family, they all represent, that they're living deities in your home as well, your parents, your children. um so they're also living deities in your home. And then you have the specific deities, if you have them. um and yes, you worship them. And the easiest way, what they he said, that start with the, even if it's a picture, but start with the Gornitai and then build up, because like if you have, especially if you have Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Marani, Radha, Krishna, the level of um I mean, especially if you have Radha Krishna and you don't dress them, and they'll start playing up because they're real, they're there. So they will start playing up. Like Radharani won't let you put an earring on, or you'll have some. You hear about all these stories that people have around their deities. So the deity is central. I mean, if you can serve a deity, I think there's nothing more amazing than that. And then you'll see the reciprocation at a much deeper level. um and yeah, I think yeah, but Srila Prabhupada did say that focus on the deities in the temple.
Okay.
That's what he said, but he did still say you can still have deities at home as well. And because with the backgrounds most of us come from, I think it's quite normal and natural to have them. So just the what you should try to do is not change the standard. So if you're offering like one meal, then just do that one meal regularly. Don't do like one meal one day and then 3 meals. Actually, even that, I mean, Krishna says offer him anything with love and devotion. So you can really stick to temple standards. Temple standards are obviously going to be different. The way in which they offer the bhoga, they do the mantras, they do the different yogic they do all the different hand gestures, and they do it differently. They do all the, waking up the Lord in a certain way, massaging the Lord. They do in a very elaborate. So in a temple, where basically do Vaikunta Seva. So Srila Prabhupada said, like the Radharaman temple, you've obviously been there in Vrindavan, they have the best temple practice and the way in which they manage the deities. So our temples, ISKCON ones, should stick to the standard of the Radharaman temple in Vrindavan. But obviously to do that in a house, it would be near enough impossible. So stick to a standard if possible, but it's got to be spontaneous, because again, like, you start cooking for Krishna once, then the next day he's going to make you cook 2 3 things for him. Sometimes he might make you cook one, sometimes you'll just say to him, Krishna, look, I haven't got time today, like, I'm only going to make you this. And then that reciprocation again will start. His clothing, what Prabhu just said, because the reciprocation will happen. And always with deities, you have to remember the reciprocation is always there. Your house is a temple, so when you're cleaning your house, you're not just cleaning, and that, because that's just, there's no consciousness there, you're just cleaning it because that's what you do conditionally. But if you say, I'm cleaning this temple, it's because I'm keeping it clean for Krishna. I'm doing my bed, my own bed, because I need to keep my body healthy, happy, whatever, because I have to serve Krishna. Then every action that you do is for Krishna. So I'm looking after my relations because that makes Krishna happy. That's what Krishna expects me. Then nothing is separate from Krishna consciousness. Even, I know the work thing seems like an absolute demoniac separated world from Krishna, but if we can think in that consciousness, which is really hard, it's easy to say it, hard to do. If we can just think that we're working for Krishna, if we work for Krishna, then we're going to be able to afford to get offer him bhoga. We're going to be able to get him nice clothes. We're going to be able to, pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever. So everything, if you associate it back, then that yukta vairagya principle, you can really make it come alive. Because even if it was a temple, I mean, these temples, they're all being, maintained by congregation members and visitors and people that are donating. You can't run a temple without all those other things and other people doing different things. But it's just, do we attach it back to Krishna?
Hare
I'm gonna
Krishna.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
Sorry,
Mata.
sorry, Mataji. So we're all 9:30 o'clock. So just time conscious. So we're all happy to, unless if there are any further questions.
And if you could also start thinking about who would like to sing the Shingadev prayers. Let's find that. Nara Simha. Prayers. Okay. Okay, so we'll continue with that next week. Go a little bit deeper, and I think it's really important that we go deep as we go into Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that we pray that Lord Chaitanya gives us the realizations as well. Okay, so Gaurangi Mataji and Hemlata Mataji, would you be kind enough to sing the Shingadev prayers?
Yes, okay, Mataji.
Okay, I'll just share them. There we go. I found this picture today.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladladayine.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadayine.
हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शिलाटङ्कानखालाये.
Hiranyakashipurbhajaha Shilatankanakalaye.
इतो नरसिंह परितो नरसिंह
Ito Nasimha Purato Nasimha
यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह
Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimha
बहिर्नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह
Bahir Nasimha Hridaye Nasimha
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे.
Narasimhadim Saranam Prapade
तव करकमलवरे अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकश्यपूतनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे.
Tavakara Kamala Bare Nakha Adbhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvinga Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव.
Jaya Narsingadev 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 Jaya Narsingadev
जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह.
Jaya Lasmi Narasimha Jaya Lasmi Narasimha Lasmi Narasimha Jaya Lasmi Narasimha
जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada
नरसिंह देव भगवान की
Jai.
जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की
Jai.
हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Hemlata Mataji and Gaurangi Mataji. That was amazingly beautiful and very prayerful. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, we'll all meet tomorrow, 5:15 to chant together. So bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
And
Van-
can we also unmute and download Haribol's to Brother Silka Mataji, please?
Hari
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 Bol.
Bol.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much,
Thank
Mataji.
you,
Hare Krishna, Shila
Thank
Prof.
you, Namaskar.
Jai.
Jai.
Okay, so Vanchakalpatarobhyasya
Krishna
Krapa
Kripasindhu
Sindhubheva Patitanam
Pavanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
Namo
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 Namo.
Ananta Koti
Anantakoti
Vaishnavibhyo
Vaishnav
ki
Ki
jai.
Jai Srila
Jai.
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
Ki
ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.